Thanks for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. I'm Greg DeRocher, President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to sit down with Ward 3 candidate, Mr. Brian Santos. Brian, how are you?
Great, thank you for having me.
Are you having fun?
Always.
I heard a rumor.
You heard a rumor?
Yes, I heard a rumor that you were the first guy out knocking on doors and you've almost knocked on the ward completely?
I wouldn't. It's getting there. I wouldn't say completely. It's getting there. There's a lot of times I'm out there and people aren't home, so I got to start hitting those houses again and going from there. But
wearing out shoes. That's
yes,
what you're supposed to do.
I've already bought a couple pairs already, it's been fantastic. You know what? I was the very first person to put my name in, and it was just it was an honor.
Yeah, so you can get out of the gate quicker than anybody else, and you can you've run before. This is your second go at it. This time. You really want to win, I suspect.
Yes, I really do.
This is your time to shine. But I guess because I know that because people are telling me, guess what? Santos is out there already. He's out there, and this was back in the early part of the summertime. So yeah. I think that's really what it takes.
It's dedication, yeah. I think, and showing people that you will really want to make a difference. Mm-hmm. The provincial election kind of threw things off and kind of put things a little bit behind and didn't want to get people confused and let them think that I'm running provincially or something. So I held off, but I want to get it out there as soon as possible.
No, I think that's great. I always say we call it, and I shouldn't give them a plug, but I will have to because we now call it the Nicholas Ermetta mantra. Yeah, Nicholas Ermetta, that's all he did. He walked the pavement and banged on doors, and that's what got him elected largely.
It really was.
Yeah, I think it's just fantastic. Just for everybody out there, Ward 3 is actually the old Preston ward. It has undergone some changes. Blair used to be in that. It's now not in that. It's in Ward 1 in the North Hespeler or the West Hespeler ward. But your ward comes all the way out to about the center line of Hespeler Road.
Correct, it does.
So you've got a lot of commercial and industrial in your ward as well.
A nice mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially with the downtown core. I think that's a nice.
Yeah. Well, downtown cores are awesome.
Yeah.
They got so much potential, and I'll share a story about them in a minute with you.
Perfect.
However, I got the toughest question that you'll ever be asked.
Okay.
To lead off. Why are you running, Brian?
Why am I running? Well, it's not because of any specific issue or anything like that. I think realistically it's coming back to my dad. My dad was very strong in very active and in the Portuguese community. He was the president for many years. And I really got instilled in that aspect of giving back to the community and being involved. And as you probably know, the Portuguese community is quite large in the city. And that I
married one.
Oh, there you go. It is. It's a great community, and they're always looking at improving things. And for the longest time, my dad was a big part of that community and a kind of a central pillar for that, and especially during the growth that it had for many years. And I grew up with that.
So it's kind of in your blood then.
Yeah, and you know what? For me, I could always go back to that community and focus in on that, but I kind of over the years and watching things unfold and seeing what can be done in governments and how they can improve the lives of many, I thought, why not?
Good for you. So. Good for you. What do you see as the biggest issue facing Cambridge and the rest of the provincial municipalities?
Biggest issues, I think right now what I've noticed for the most part in a lot of municipalities is there tends to be a lot of infrastructure that needs to be redeveloped. A lot of piping, roads aren't as bad in some municipalities, but that has caused a little bit of a backlog, especially with the recession. Many municipalities kind of cut back a bit and keeping up. So I think that's going to be probably the biggest issue to tackle over the
I would probably agree with you. I think all the municipalities are talking about infrastructure deficits.
Like Cambridge is doing very well. When you look at us and compare it to other municipalities, we do extremely well, but that still doesn't mean we're at a certain standard. Yeah. And I think that's something that we do need to focus on. One other thing as well is probably, our other infrastructure items are above ground, our arenas, things like that. They are starting to get a little worn. And we do have fairly. We have a growing city, and it's getting younger.
They were new before I was a kid.
And you know they're getting used a lot, and we need to look at solutions, whether it's rebuilding or looking at sporting complexes or things like that.
Yeah.
But these are all issues that are I think need to be addressed in the next coming years.
Very good. What's the most important issue in your ward right now?
What I would say there's probably two. One I've touched on, which is the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an older area, especially with the downtown core, so that seems to be a concern. The Preston Auditorium and the Carl Holbrook Arena is another ones that need to be looked at and addressed in the next coming years. And I've gotten that a lot at the door. A lot of younger families who have kids in hockey, things like that, have mentioned that's something they would like to see. Parks, we do have a few parks in Preston as well that the people are somewhat concerned about, would like to see a little more of an upkeep.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some concerns that they've had on that. The other aspect would be for more kind of geared to business, and what I've gotten from most businesses is the core development, the streetscaping that's going to happen in 2017, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of questions on that and how it's going to affect parking and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be probably the biggest concerns that I've heard at the door and at the
Well,
shops.
you've not done a ton of them, so you
Still have many more.
You'd probably be the guy to ask what's going on in Ward 3, but and you do realize, and I've told another candidate that I interviewed, that's my old stomping ground. So if you're successful, you got to take good care of Preston, because otherwise you'll have to face me.
You know what? I have another person to face. Carl Kiefer lives across the street from me, so I'm sure he will have.
Oh yeah, and you don't want the two of us coming.
No,
at you.
that's.
Frankly, Brian, the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce is looking for people in this election who have big, bold ideas for our community over the next 4 years and beyond. What's Brian Santos' big, bold idea?
You know what? I think the biggest bold idea that we can look at is start acting like a big city. People don't realize we are the 38th largest city in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that people need to start seeping in. We need to start looking at that. We need to start addressing our development in that aspect. We are expected to grow about 40,000 people, residence-wise, in the next 15 years.
Ooh, that puts us very close to 200,000.
So that puts us at the same size of a city like Burlington.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we really need to focus in how we adapt, how we look at smart growth, I think is another thing that we need to focus on, and kind of intensifying our development, hopefully helping to create a need for improved transit. Because people can be centralized, people want to walk. I know for a fact for me, I used to live on Bishop Street in Preston, and one thing I loved about it was being able to walk to all the shops and get there. And now where I live, I'm a little bit further out in a kind of more of a suburb type of environment, and you're kind of forced to get in your car and drive. And I think people really like that aspect, and given an opportunity to find homes in that type of scenario would help us develop and create a need for public transportation.
You're a younger fellow. You're 30-something.
Actually, less than that.
Oh, okay,
27.
20-something, late 20s. Yeah. Well, and that's maybe even better for this type of question. What keeps you here in Cambridge, other than the obvious, a job or, family? But let's say you could go anywhere and be anything you wanted to be anywhere.
Yep.
And you didn't really have that family tie or worry. What keeps you here?
You know what? I've asked that question a few times to myself. I know at first when I was in high school, I always pictured myself going to a big city like Toronto and kind of going that direction.
Well, oddly enough, kids in your age group, 70% of them see themselves working in a foreign city.
Yeah, and that was something I thought about too, but just my career path, I guess, kind of kept me here. Initially I wanted to be a pilot, and I went to school for that. And during the recession, I was working full time and also going to school, and that caused me to, get laid off left, right, and center. The economy was not doing so well, and I was a CNC laser operator. There wasn't enough jobs out there, and I got into the automotive because I wanted to control my destiny with sales, and I was able to kind of control my income a little bit more that way. And now I'm a sales manager here locally at Ridge Hill Ford, and I've really enjoyed that, and the opportunity's been fantastic. But I think it's my career path and where that's taken me. It's left me here, and frankly, I've always loved this city. I know a lot of people my age and growing up kind of thought there was not much here, but there's not much here because we haven't quite developed it yet. And I think we have a lot of potential, and some of the enhancements that we've seen over the past few years, you're starting to get into that
Yeah.
aspect. But I think, the next 4 years especially, we really start to have to lay the groundwork for the bigger picture.
I've always dreamed the city of being the city that people would love to move to and get
Yeah.
a job and work. And, I always used to worry when my kids were growing up and saying, well, there's nothing to do. There's nothing for me here. Where else can I go?
Yeah.
And because everything else in the world seems so much more exciting. But I think you're probably hitting a real chord that the chamber's looking at too. We're talking about strategically investing in the community to make sure that we've got the attributes that attract
Yeah.
and retain good quality people and leaders in our community. And the chamber, as you know, opposed the LRT. We opposed it for various reasons, not because we didn't want people to ride public transportation
Yep.
or didn't want to pay for it. We opposed it because largely it wasn't the technology we felt was the future of public transportation. And secondly, we thought, from a region's perspective, we were a little bit too small. We didn't have the ridership, but we still don't meet the ridership numbers. More particularly, we opposed the fact that Cambridge had to pay that share because, we looked at it down the road as far as we could look, and many of us, 25 to 40 years, we're saying we're probably never going to see it in 25 to 40 years. Why do we have to pay for it? However, that's my little opportunity to get my digs in with the region all the time, and I like to take that advantage. It's a done battle. It's finished.
Yeah.
We've got LRT. The proposal is to bring it here. The Premier actually said maybe there's even a chance we can advance it coming to Cambridge. We now have a member of the provincial legislature who is Cambridge's member and part of the government that can make those decisions. What do we have to do as a community? What would you do to help to make that a reality in the future?
Well, we definitely need to bring it here now. 4 years ago, I opposed it as well. But, like I said, it's a done deal. We have no choice.
Yeah.
So we need to focus to make sure that we benefit from it in some shape or form. I think the biggest thing would be to look at intensification, to create the ridership and demand for such a project. I think realistically,
That's what it needs, right?
Exactly. I think it's a pretty simple answer to a certain degree. It's a complex way to go
Yeah.
about doing it, but the answer is simple. You need I just lost the word.
Intensity and density to
Intensification in
you're
order
exactly right.
to create that ridership. So
And a little off of that, but I can remember having early discussions with the region a long time ago.
Yep.
Like we're talking 12 years ago. They talked 8 or 9 years ago, but 12 years ago we had this discussion in a small boardroom in the region, and I said to them, of the entire system, what strip of highway or road has the greatest potential for development? And all of them unanimously said Hespel Road.
Yeah.
So, because of the planning policies that were there, the buildings were set back, moving them up to which we see now they're starting to move up to the edge of the curb to get that higher density people living on Hespeler Road. Then you create the ridership.
correct.
It's pretty simple, like you say, but
It's not an easy
difficult to
task
get
do.
there.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Exactly. Much has been said about Go Service. We've heard about that. I've heard about that, Brian, just so you know, you're only 27. I've heard about it for 40 years. We've been trying to get it here. We had it, we thought we had it when we had a member of the parliament who was the transportation minister of the government.
Yeah.
And the government had a majority, but we didn't see it. We think the municipality thinks we can put a good case together. I think, personally, my only concern with it, I think it really needs to be two-way all-day service. I would use it. I've never used Go. Self-admitted that I've never used it. The only reason is I need to get out of, sometimes I need to go down early in the morning and come back before lunch, and I can't do that on one-way service. I would never take a 2-hour train ride from Kitchener. Not ever, when I can drive there.
Less time.
Frustratingly, but
Yep.
I can drive there in an hour and a half if I have to. What do you think is going to be what effect would it be if we were to land Go? What effect would it have on Cambridge?
I think it would be huge. We have, about 5,500 commuters
Yeah.
that go to Toronto on a daily basis. I've used to go once. I will admit to at least doing it once. And I left out of Milton.
Did you do it for a test, or did you
No,
do it out of convenience?
I did it because we were going to, it was Burlington. I took it out. Sorry, it wasn't Milton. I took it out of Burlington. I was going to a Toronto FC game.
Oh, yeah.
And so the stop is actually right there in front.
Yeah.
So it just was convenience aspect, and why I took it. And, why pay for parking down Toronto when I can just drop it off there and take that. So that was my purpose.
Was it a good experience?
It was great. It was nice. It was relaxing. It was straightforward. At first it's a little confusing buying the tickets. But it's pretty straightforward. It's one line. But it is what it is. But I definitely think that we definitely have the demand for it. I think it's the smartest route to bring it to Cambridge.
Yeah.
No one from London traveling to Toronto is going to want to go into Kitchener to catch it.
Nobody from Chicopee area is going to want to go up into Kitchener.
And when you're looking at it, traffic's already congested as it is going into Kitchener. So the 401 needs some stress relief.
Yeah.
And I think the best scenario would to be have it there so people can come here and commute to
I
Toronto.
think we'll use that now. We'll call it the Pepto-Bismol idea.
And I think by having that, you're going to also see increased ridership. In our public transit services here, because that will become a central piece to it. And people instead
If you come here from Toronto and you don't have a car, you got to get on public transportation.
Yeah, and even going likewise to there. If you're on a bus route, you might as well get on the bus and take it all the way there and leave your car at home.
Brian Santos, you'll still be very actively involved in this community.
Yep.
Where do you see Cambridge in 25 years?
20
Where do you hope to see Cambridge in 25 years?
It really comes down to is really embracing the city and what it could be. I think there's two directions it can go. If we don't embrace it, we're going to be left with some serious issues to deal with in 25 years. But if we really if we sit down and focus on the issues that are at hand and really develop our growth, especially looking at 40,000 people, where is that going to be in 25 years from now? We're 38th largest city. I think we can probably be 25 going forward. And if we are, I think not only do we want to be to 25 in population, but in quality of life to live in. And I think that's kind of where I see our city and where we have.
I would agree. We're the center of the universe, and you can go ahead and use that, and you can even say where you heard it.
All right, we'll do.
There's no question we're a day's drive from the wealthiest population in the world. There's no reason why we shouldn't be investing in ourselves and trying to grab onto some of that wealth for sure. That just helps the citizens of Cambridge. Brian, one last thing. I'm getting really excited. I'm a little bit geeky sometimes. I don't know why, but at my age, I shouldn't maybe be, but I love technology. I am so excited that I'm going to be able to, and I'm going to cast my ballot this year in my pajamas online. And I've actually told everybody, I'll tell you, that I'm going to take a picture of myself and post it on Facebook, voting in my pajamas. However, there's some people out there that say, oh no, there's going to be voter fraud and there's security issues. Internet's 25 years old. This is the 21st century. I should be able to vote in my pajamas. What do you think about it?
You know what? I think it's going to happen no matter what, and it's good that we're starting to look at that and making it a viable option. There's going to be hiccups along the way. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
it's a learning curve. There's always some sort of hiccups.
You do your banking online?
Yes, I do.
Why can't you vote?
Exactly. I think we've come a long way, and we really need to look at all options and get as many people out as possible. People need a reason to go out and vote. Period. If they don't have a reason, they're not going to vote, whether online or whether in person. So. I think that's the big thing that's up to the candidates to really give them a reason to go out and vote. But I embrace it. I think it's a great opportunity. I'm hoping that more young people will.
I hope so too. I won't tell everybody my idea that I gave you. That'll be for your next campaign.
Yes.
It was a pretty good one, though.
It was fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Brian Santos, candidate for Ward 3. Brian, any last final comments you want to talk to the voters of Ward 3?
You know what? If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me on my website. My email is there, and my phone number is posted there as well. So
What's your website?
briansantos.ca. And my email is brian@briansantos.ca. Pretty simple, just two Brians. So if you have any questions whatsoever, I'm always open to answering them, and hopefully I'll see you at the door.
Yeah, that'd be very good. Thanks again for checking out Chamber Web TV and Cambridge Votes 2014, conversation with candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. Again, I'm Greg DeRocher, and this is Brian Santos, candidate for Ward 3. Good to see you.